In today's video, we're going to talk about DNI tracking and why this is the only real way to do your call tracking if you even have half a brain. Dynamic call tracking, or DKI for short, is a tracking method in which you are dynamically replacing the telephone number on your website to be able to track incoming phone calls on your website, whether that be tracking calls from Google Organic, pay-per-click ads on Google Ads, pay-per-click ads on Facebook, wherever you're driving traffic from. Dynamic keyword insertion based call tracking can track every single call and track individual campaigns that drive those calls, individual keywords that drive those calls, individual audiences that drive those calls. Which you may say, well, that seems, what's so special about that? Well, funny you ask, because the crappy way to do call tracking, your other way, is through static call tracking, or I call it the dumb call tracking. It doesn't have the elements necessary to track a call from one keyword versus another. It can only track whether a call came in from the account as a whole, the campaign as a whole, not as a keyword as a whole. And which makes a big difference in the amount of results you're going to get from your ads. If you want to take your ads seriously and you want to make millions of dollars running ads for your business over time, after you scale your ads up, you need data on what worked and what didn't work. Dumb call tracking, where you just simply take a tracking number, put it on your website, as I mentioned just a second ago, whether somebody called from your account as a whole, basically, and that doesn't give you the data that you need to actually refine your ads. The 80-20 rule applies to advertising. 20% of your account is at any given time, or your ad spend at any given time, is driving 80% of the sales. The question is, where's the 80%? As per, forgot who said it. That was a famous advertising company owner who said that. In today's environment, you don't have to wonder where's the 80% of the waste. You can actually, if you just get up off your butt to set up the right tracking systems for yourself, you'll know exactly where it is, practically speaking anyway. You can get real efficient with what you're spending real fast, to the point where you can actually start out with what you're doing today, be only average at making good ads, good landing pages, and you just give it enough time to find out what portion of what you're spending on is driving the sales. As long as you're getting some sales, you will start to make money. It's just a matter of how much time you have to run the ads before you figure out what portion of what you have works and gets you the ROI that you're looking for. I'm going to go through the dynamic keyword insertion, how it works, how to implement it, how much more money it's going to make you. It will make you way more money than static call tracking is. We're talking 10 times more money in the long run. The tracking data in your account is everything. You got to know what works and what doesn't work, not just for vanity purposes like, ooh, I'm so good as an advertiser. No, it actually is used not even just to optimize your ads as a human optimizer, but the algorithms use that data to identify what is actually working, and not even on a keyword level, but on a user level. What time of the day they searched, what websites they visit, what do they like to eat, and on and on and on and on. The amount of data that Google and Facebook have on you as an individual, it would shock you. And they know that because you got an app on your phone, they're listening to what you're saying. If you got an email on Gmail, they're listening to everything you type, looking at everything you searched, every website you've been on, because code that is on those websites collect data on you as a user. They basically know so much about you, it's ridiculous, and it's all in a database somewhere. When you sell to somebody, Google/Facebook can see the 10,000 unique traits that match up with that person and can use that to get you the next customer and the next one and the next one. And the more customers you get, the better the system gets at getting you a customer. The more it can scale your ads at the ROI that you want. And so you can literally hamper yourself right from the start by having half-ass tracking, or you could just get your tracking set up right and scale your ads super quick in the grand scheme of things compared to static call tracking or no call tracking, because you have the tools so that you're giving the algorithms what they need to get you those sales that you're looking for. I'm Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, a PPC/advertising agency that manages online advertising for clients and guarantees their results. We do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain lift in the profitability of their ads up front, or to a certain minimum level of profitability with their ads up front. And we're doing this for the last 10 years as a company, whereas myself have 20 years of online advertising experience to give you the information I'm giving you here in today's video. I myself have used an every which way to do call tracking through different providers, CallRail, call tracking metrics, Mongoose metrics, and then also the types of call tracking you can deal with. The smart call tracking, which is dynamic keyword insertion call tracking, as well as static call tracking. So dynamic keyword insertion not dynamic keyword insertion. I meant to say dynamic number insertion. Sorry about that. Is something that we've, for the last 7+ years, have used by default, if we want to say basically 10 years at our agency here, because it's the foundation of what you need to really get results with ads. You cannot make your ads better if you don't know what to do more of and what to do less of. As mentioned, I was going to say how specifically dynamic number insertion actually works and why that actually is going to get you the much better results on your ad spend if you got it set up. I drew a little diagram here to show kind of how this all works. What you do, so static call tracking, what you do, whether you're using CallRail or whatever call tracking provider you have, and maybe it's just through Ring Central got a number and it's a special number that you put on your website for a landing page that you know only Google Ads traffic goes there. Regardless of which one of those applies to you, you put that tracking number on the website and you know when somebody calls, you got a call from that traffic source. Then if you're using a call tracking provider like CallRail, which also provides static call tracking, it'll show in your dashboard a call came in. It'll also show up in your, if it came from, let's say, your Google Ads account, it'll show a call inside your Google Ads account at the campaign level and at the account level. That in and itself isn't useful to the algorithm to optimize your ads, nor is you as a human advertiser, for the most part anyway. Knowing one campaign works over another is a little useful, but not nearly as useful as knowing what keyword worked, what ad worked, what time of the day worked, what device worked, and on and on and on. But more importantly, that the algorithm can use to optimize your ads. Dynamic number insertion tracking, however, gives you all of that capability. And the way that that works is instead of just putting a number on your website physically, like going to the website files on your web hosting and then taking the phone number and then just deleting it and deleting whatever number was there and then putting your tracking number there, what dynamic number insertion does to make it work is you put a JavaScript code that the call tracking provider provides you. And what it actually does is it makes it so that when a user moving forward, once this is installed, downloads your web page, it'll actually look for this JavaScript set up to look for a phone number that you tell it to look for on your website. And if it sees it, it's set up to, in the user's web browser, render not the number that's on your website by default, a tracking number that comes from a pool of tracking numbers. The reason why that in and itself is useful or necessary is because of one simple little fact. That is, you can have multiple people on your site at the same time. How do you know if you had 4 Google users on the site at the same time, all of which search for different keywords? If they're all on the site at the same time, one of them calls, how do you know which of the people called and then therefore what keyword the user typed in before they called? There's not a way. The only way is to show a different tracking number for every single one of those users that are on the site at the same time. What you end up having with dynamic keyword insertion and through a CallRail tracking or call tracking provider like CallRail, which is the one that I recommend and I use it for all our clients' campaigns and businesses that I run, you're actually going to have at minimum 4 different unique tracking numbers. If only one person is on the site, it's going to show the call tracking number that's the first in line from that pool of 4. For high traffic sites, you'll have more than 4. If a second person visits the website while that first person's on the site, it's actually going to, for the user who downloads that web page, second in line, it'll see the second tracking number. Then if a third person visits the website before the first 2 leave, they'll see the third number in your call tracking pool, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. When somebody calls, if they call, that information about where they came from and so forth can be tied to the user. And the way that it works is when they call, your call tracking provider like CallRail know a call came in and the time and the date that it came. And because the JavaScript code that CallRail gives you to put on your web page, every single time a web page loads with that tracking code on it, it fires a notification to CallRail. It matches up somebody visiting the web page and when somebody calls and ties those 2 events together. When somebody calls, it actually looks at the URL bar and the end of the URL. It'll be like example.com/UTM_source equals Google if this is a Google campaign. And then ampersand UTM underscore medium equals PPC. And all that information, the JavaScript that CallRail gives you to put on your website as a part of this dynamic number insertion system is trying to look at the end of the URL there. Any Google campaign that you run by default is going to have information at the end of your URL like that, these so-called UTM codes. It's going to grab it, and then when JavaScript loads on the page, it's going to send all that UTM information to CallRail. It's going to store it, and then if a call does occur, it already has that information about what keyword they typed in and so forth, including the so-called Google Click ID, which is also in the end of that URL bar. And that Google Click ID serves as a unique code that's tied to individual clicks. Every single click through Google's ad system, Google has a serial number for it, which is called the Google Click ID. When that Google Click ID is sent to CallRail, and then CallRail ultimately sends it to Google Ads because you can link your CallRail account to Google Ads, they understand, okay, I remember that user that you're talking about here. You're saying they called. Okay, so we'll actually show in the various menus of your account that a call occurred on the keyword menu, the ad menu, the time of the day of the week, device menu, and so forth. And that's how that data loop exists, if you will. The same process applies for Microsoft/Bing ads. The same process applies for Facebook ads. Facebook has the Facebook Click ID. Microsoft has the Microsoft Click ID. Person who clicks your ad visits your website. The JavaScript code that the call tracking provides you looks at the URL bar for the UTM codes and the click ID, sends it to CallRail, and then if somebody calls, it actually understands the UTM information that's tied to that call because the call is going to occur sometime within the next 2 or 3 minutes, basically. And that call, if you will, then can be tied to that user, if you will. And even if there's more than one person on the website, it can still do it because each person gets a unique phone number. As long as the call occurs within a few minutes of the person visiting the site, it understands the call is tied to that visit, if that makes sense. The phone number on the web page that the user sees is not even on your website per se within the website HTML code. It's simply shown on the, like if they're using Google Chrome, it's simply displayed for the user there because it's replacing the existing telephone number on your web page. With the call tracking provider like CallRail, you say, anytime CallRail that you see this number on the website, I want you to replace it with the tracking number. And of course, if there's more than one person on the site, then I want you to have, you can have this one if there's 2 people on the site, this one if there's 3 people on the site, and so forth. In essence, that's how it works. Versus the simple way to do call tracking, which is, like I said before, you edit your actual website coding itself to have a different tracking number, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not really useful. Yes, you can see how many calls an ad campaign gets if you have a dedicated landing page that you send traffic to from a certain source and people call that number. You can see, okay, Facebook drove this many calls, Google drove this many calls, but you can't use it to optimize your ads with. You can see what one campaign over another does. That's not real useful in the grand scheme of things, or at least you're only getting 10% of the value of the tracking data that you should get if you have dynamic number insertion. Just to give you a perspective here on what's going on, if somebody has static call tracking over dynamic call number insertion call tracking, the amount of results that you could get with a Google Ads account over a 24-month period, building up conversion data, passing it into the account, there's no way in hell that you're not going to make at least double the money that you're going to have with the static call tracking. Probably going to be 5 to 10x. It matters that much because the algorithm relies on data that much, particularly if you take it the rest of the way and use sales tracking. When you get a sale and you take the sale that you get from the customer, you look in your CallRail account, find the click ID that is tied to that person who called originally, then take the click ID, give that back to the ad platform through a manual upload. Then you can not only just have the algorithm optimized for more calls or cheaper calls or calls at a rate that you find acceptable, but more sales and an actual profit because you can actually upload the amount they spent. Cheapest calls are never going to be the most profitable calls. It just doesn't work out that way. When you can take this all the way and optimize for profit, calls that drive the highest profit versus just any call, which optimizing for any call gives you, at least double the results. You're going to make 5 to 10 times the results over static call tracking when you go ahead and take it to the fullest extent you can, which is to do the sales and profit tracking. And if you don't have a sale that normally occurs within the first 90 days, which is the time limit to upload a sale to your ad platform, which you can do, by the way, through Facebook, Bing, /Microsoft, and Google, then you score the lead 1 through 10, 10 being the best quality lead, and then you import that information so that the algorithm can optimize for higher quality leads over time that are more likely to close, and you're still going to do at least 5 times as much business. So I know a lot of this is probably very technical and sounds very jargonish-y, even though I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. If you just simply want somebody to set this up the correct way, this is exactly what I do for clients day in and day out. We've set up no less than 500 different installations of CallRail at this point in time in the last 10 years of running the firm. If you want somebody who's done this time and time again, which it's easy to get screwed up, by the way. It seems simple until you go ahead and do it. Most people figure this out when they try to set up tracking for themselves the first time. We can set it up. It's not going to be a big deal. And there's no situation where you're not going to make your money back on the account unless you get like no calls. Okay, if you get any kind of calls, if you're doing lead generation, more than 10% of your leads you're getting is coming from calls, you need to be doing call tracking because you're going to get your money back every single time. And it's only a one-time setup and you're done. Assuming you're not doing sales tracking, but if you're just tracking calls, once it's done, it's set up, the data feeds in, you use your smart bidding to get you more results. It uses the fact whether a call came in or not to get you more results. And your results just keep getting better and better the more calls you get. Self-perpetuating feedback loop once it's set up. You get a call at a cheap rate, Google sees that, does more of that, brings in another call at a cheaper rate because it used the information you had before to get you the even cheaper call, which then feeds into the account and gets you an even cheaper call because it understands what part of the account and your spend is getting the cheap calls and then weeds out the part of your account that's not getting cheap calls to reinvest it in where your cheap calls are coming from. And then therefore, it just keeps getting better and better over time. We could do this for you. And not only that, but we can set up ads that'll get you more profitability on your ad spend every time. In addition to just the tracking stuff, landing pages, and very, very, very good at ad campaigns, writing unique ads. Reach out to my firm at guaranteedppc.com. I'd be happy to speak with you on that topic. We also, by the way, if you like managing your own ads, many of you guys watching, I know you do, you can use our templates to help yourself out as well. We got 100 different niche markets plus that we've been in the last 10 years. And if we've already done all the work to get great results in your space, you can take the winning ads, campaigns, landing pages, literally the entire campaign files, copy paste this into your account and get the same results we're getting. None of the work and none of the money it took for us to figure out how to get to those results. And we can tell you the results that we got. These templates are so good, you can start a whole other business just on the back of the template. If you want to sell printer toner, take our template to sell printer toner. If you want to start a plumbing business, start with a campaign that generates leads in the plumbing space at rock bottom cost, $100 or less leads, which you'll for sure make money on if your sales process is even halfway decent. Because the hardest part in most businesses is just getting the ads to be effective and profitable. We've got that for you right up front. And we've had several people use the templates already just to start brand new businesses up that they weren't even in before. Or they use the templates to sell leads to people in a certain market, which is a great passive income business. And set up, you don't really have to do much. They like the leads, they know they work, and you just have your campaign running and that you charge their card every 10 or 50 leads that they get. So anyway, if you're interested in any of those other opportunities, you can also reach out to me as well at guaranteedppc.com. That said, the data about what keywords are working, what ads are working, in addition to what campaigns are working, what time of the day that your ads are most productive, what state the user's from when they respond, city, household income level. All of this is the difference between, in many, many markets out there, your ads being profitable and not profitable. Very, very rarely will we start up a campaign and it's just right away profitable with no revision to what we're doing, and you can't do any revision unless you have the data. I even mention all the time on this channel that if you start advertising today and it doesn't pan out 90 days from now, you find out what you did wasn't profitable, at least you've collected data that tells you what part of it was profitable, you cut out all the fat, and now what you have something that is profitable. Versus what the average person does is they say, oh wow, this is going to be so great, I'm going to be rich overnight, I'm going to have these ads, they're going to get me the customers, wow, I can spend 10 minutes setting up this ad, why didn't anybody else think of this? And then they run their ads and they find it ain't profitable, and they're pissed and they say Google's a scam and whatever and whatnot. And then if they still are determined to get Google ads to work, now they have to go back and set up their tracking now to get things to work. Why not just set it up in the first place, not be a bonehead, and assume it's just going to be profitable right away without tracking, and you're the 1% that is able to do that and make that work? Just set it up from the damn beginning. Yes, it's so tempting, and people are so excited to get your ads working because they think it's going to be great, that they just plow into it with nothing, no preparation work, 10 minutes of setting up their ads and landing pages and all that, and then they find out that it bombs like hell. If it were that easy to make money, everybody would have a campaign, everybody would be rich. You got to realize this. Nothing that's that easy in life is worth anything. And the reality is, whoever has better ads and a better setup when you're running Google ads, hell, if you're even running Facebook ads, is going to be the one that makes it work, because you're able to extract more value from the ad traffic than the other person. Therefore, it's going to work. And these platforms charge as much as they can get away with and what the market will bear, to the point where 10-20% are making money, the rest aren't making. I can tell you that and make it make sense because most people aren't doing their tracking setups. I've audited probably 1,000 campaigns in the last 10 years, and guess what? Like 70% of people are not tracking their calls if they need to track calls. If you just track your calls at all, forget about sales tracking, like I was talking about before. You're ahead of 2/3 of the people right up front. Your goal is to have better ads and better landing pages as anybody else, but if you do that, you're already ahead of 2/3 of people. You start adding sales tracking to the mix, you're ahead of 99% of the people, because nobody does this. They're too lazy, they're too arrogant, or whatever the hell. They don't do it. I promise you they don't do it. It's not like you have to, be a rocket scientist to get this stuff to work. You just have to get motivated. You're going to make this work as if your life depended on it. Set up the damn tracking systems, like I'm mentioning here, to get you the data you need. Even though you may not know the perfect keyword that's going to work, most people don't, and it doesn't work that way, no matter how good of an advertiser you are. You can find out what it is once you've ran your ads, and that's how fortunes are ultimately made most of the time. Once in a while, you'll get something where we'll make money with the campaign right away and with like no tracking, just bam. But it's something where the product is like 10 times better than the competition already, and there's nobody else that can compete with it, and that's the way that it rolls, and that's the way that it is. So in other words, something with super high demand with very low competition. I'm talking 97% of the time, you're not that. If you think you're that, you can go ahead and run out and set up 10 minutes and hope that it works. But I can tell you, even then, it's still going to take 90 days of getting it spooled up, because your ads need some history for Google/Facebook/ whatever to take you seriously and to get things placed properly. And, and if it isn't exactly getting you the return you want, you're out of the game, pissed all your money away, versus you're always going to get value from ad spend when you're collecting data about what works and what doesn't work in advance. I could not run our firm without tracking data. We could not guarantee anybody any results without tracking data to optimize the campaigns. You literally can have a campaign, if you run it long enough with the right tracking and machine learning that these systems have, you will eventually make it work. Yes, you want it to work sooner than what it needs to by using good ads and good landing pages, but you literally take a campaign, run it for 5 years with 3 out of 10 ad and a 3 out of 10 landing page, you're still going to hit profitability with that at some point, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, because the machine learning algorithms are so good. Like I was mentioning before, they know the 10,000 traits that you have versus a customer that doesn't buy from you doesn't have 1,000 customers to look at. They correlate all the data points between all the customers that match up, and then they basically then eventually figure out something like, if a person has these 5 traits here, they're 95% likely to buy from you, and then you have everything you need to. It's like impossible not to make money at that point in time. If you have any questions, by the way, of anything I covered here, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. This is just one piece to making a fortune running online ads for your business. You should also subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because the information given to you on this channel is coming from somebody who spent 20 years doing ads already. I spend 40 hours a week just doing ad testing. I have a team of people that help execute my strategies at my firm here at Guarantee PPC. My job is just doing the strategy, and this is all I do, and all I do is get to see what works and what doesn't work on campaigns. Therefore, the information isn't any more valid. You're not going to find more valid information elsewhere on YouTube and on the web, legitimately, especially given most of the stuff that you see on YouTube about making money with ads is given to you by people who aren't running any damn ads at all, or they're running a couple ads, and therefore the information is just basically pointless and useless. So at the very least, you want to subscribe to this channel and watch what I'm giving you here, even though it's not nice and fluffy and airy and just click this, this, and this, you're going to make money. Because like I said, nothing in life that is that easy is worth anything. It'll certainly make you a millionaire, but you have to put the work in to put these things into place, because you got to serve the user and help them find what they want easily. And that doesn't take 3 seconds to do. You got to put together good video and picture content and understand what it is they want to hear on an ad. But it's all here on this channel, so you should subscribe. I also have a fantastic blog on my site at guaranteeppc.com/blog, where the stuff that we're using to guarantee results for our clients, we actually list it there in a step-by-step fashion with screenshots, with everything you need to use it. You should also check that out as well if you end up liking the channel, because most of the people who like the channel, actually when they check that blog out, they even like it better. To sum all this up, dynamic number insertion is a number that gets put into your website dynamically when the website loads user's web browser. It's not physically added to your website at all. What is added to your website is JavaScript code, which then allows the tracking number to show up for the user when they load it on their web browser. And it will make sure every unique visitor of your website gets a different number, so that when somebody calls, all the information about that person, how they came in, that you're going to later use to optimize your ad spend, is going to be inside your account waiting for you, drill down on after that person calls, so you can use it to help you make more money in the future. Hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section. Again, I get back to everybody within generally 24 hours on any ad-related questions that they have, either about the topic at hand or any other ad-related question. I get back to all of our viewers when they ask questions on this channel. But with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you for watching.
Remember when I said call tracking was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.